Hello, boys and girls. Today is Wednesday, February 24th, and we are going to continue on learning about using equations to solve for a missing variable. All right, friends, and just a reminder that tomorrow you have a check-in. We're going to practice constructing, or I guess you'll be assessed on constructing or building angles, um, using a protractor to measure angles, just some basic knowledge about angles in general, and then missing adjacent angles like we're doing again today. So let's go ahead and just go over those steps that we've been doing. So first, it's use what you know. So like read those directions. Mrs. Barnes was telling us yesterday, if they're giving us information, why not use it? We're going to draw our tape diagram to model what we know, and that will help us build our equation and find our answer. And then, of course, we're going to solve it. I have to say, yesterday I was extremely proud to see all the work. The first time we did this, I saw a lot of people just doing it in their head, or it's huge that you're able to do the equation and show your work. Let's go ahead and let's start by Mrs. Andrews modeling. When I say model, you say ooh la la, model. All right, so what we need to realize here is we are not talking about what we've seen in the past. In the past, we saw like 90-degree angle, or maybe we saw 180-degree angle. Here, we're talking about a full circle. So I want you to think our whole is, if it's a full circle, there's two angles here. There's angle D, and then there's angle that's 20 degrees. Total, it's a full circle. So our whole is 360 degrees because there are 360 degrees in a full circle. Now, we know, Mrs. Andrews just told you, there's two angles, which means there's two parts. There's part one. I'm actually going to make that a little smaller because it's only 20 degrees. And then there's angle two. And I know that angle 1 is 20 degrees. Angle 2, all I know, it's D. So I have part and the part, and I have the whole. So now I can write my equation. If I have 360 and I take 20 away, it will equal D. So right now, on your whiteboard or on your piece of paper, can you do 360? I'll write degrees there. And 20 degrees to tell me what the value of D is. Awesome, thank you. You should have 340 degrees. And let's double check. 340 plus 20, if we did the inverse operation, would be 360. What we needed to know was that whole. This was talking about an entire circle. And of course, you already knew that there's 360 degrees in an entire circle. Let's have you try one. Let's first start with what you know. Based on this, what do we know our whole is? We know that there's one angle and two angles. If we add those two angles up, it will create, this is almost a circle, just this one, and our second one. So total, it creates 360 degrees. I'm going to change this so you can hopefully see it a little better. Sorry. And how many angles are we talking about? We're talking about 1, 2. So we're talking about two angles. So I'm going to draw those two parts. 1, 2. I know by looking at this, the angle C is pretty large. It's almost a full circle. And my friend Ashton always tells me when we see this symbol. This symbol here, we know, is 90 degrees. Now I can write my equation. Something minus 90 equals C. My whole minus that 90 degrees, or that right angle, is going to equal C. These are benchmark angles. And I know that C equals 270 degrees. So here's my equation, and then here's my answer. All right, let's check this one out. Mrs. Andrews is going to do this one for you. Again, let's look and see what we know. I know there's one angle, two angles, three angles. Sorry, I didn't line that up very good. And it makes a full circle. So I know if it makes a full circle, that it's a total of 360 degrees. We said there's 1, 2, 3 angles, which means there's 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3. And let's show what we know. We know one of those angles equals 74 degrees. We know another one is, if Ashton was here, he would tell me 90 degrees. And then last, we just know it's E degrees. We don't know what that value is. So just like we did yesterday, we're going to add these two parts together, 74 plus 90. Go ahead and do that for me. 74 plus 90. And you should get an answer of 164. And we're done, like Mrs. Barnes said. Thank you and good night. No, then we need to find, because that just gives us these two parts. We need to find the difference of this missing part. So we're going to take our total, which remember our whole is 360, and subtract that 164. I can't have 0 and take 4 away, so I have to borrow. 5 minus 6 I can't do, so I have to borrow. 15 minus 6 is 9. 2 minus 1 is 1, giving me an answer for, oh boy, for an ugly looking E, of 196. Now I'm not done. We need to show our equation. So what I did for my equation, maybe a little different than yours. I had 360 degrees total, my whole. I added 74 plus 90, and I got E. That's what I did, right? I added my two parts and I subtracted it from my whole, okay? Giving me an answer or a value of E of 196 degrees. I'm gonna have you try the next one all by yourself. So I'm gonna clear this, and then you're gonna try this next one all by yourself, and then check back with me for an answer, okay? All right, good luck. All right, friends, so what I did was I added my two parts that I know, and then I subtracted it from my whole, which we knew was a whole circle, and I got a difference of 203 degrees. So basically, this is the same exact thing we were doing the last few days, but our whole is out of a circle, that full circle, which is 360 degrees, okay? All right, we're stepping it up even higher now. We're going to look at these angles. And when you look at this, oh my, it looks like a lot of information. O is the intersection of AB and CD, which means they cross there. They meet right here at O. Okay, great. That also tells us that when they cross or meet, they're not making a 90-degree angle. They're not in perpendicular. I know that angle DOA, so let me show you, here to here is 160 degrees. And I know angle AOC is 20 degrees. Okay? Now, let me tell you a little hint here. We got to try to find a straight line. I want you to look for where can you find a straight line? Well, I see a straight line from C to D. And that also makes sense because 160 plus 20 equals 180. Huh. I also see a straight line from A to B, which means 160 plus Y equals 180 because it's going to make a straight line. Or something 20 plus X is going to make a straight line. Now, I want to tell you something else that's really important. Angles, if they are opposite of each other, see how they intersect right here, which means on this side, angle AOD, the opposite angle, which is BO and C, it's the same value. It's congruent or equal. When I say congruent, you say equal. Congruent, equal, which means it's worth the same value. So if AOD is 160, then angle X is also 160 degrees. And if I know, if I'm looking at this straight line CD, I know that this is 160. How do I get to 180? Oh, well, I don't even have to do any math. I could just look at the opposite angle. So opposite from Y is this angle here, and we know that's 20 degrees. So we didn't even have to do any calculations. I could double check my work because truly, if my math is right, this will create a full circle and it will equal 360 degrees. So let's check if the whole thing equals 360 and I have 4 angles. Sorry, I didn't really map those out well. I'm saying one of the angles, well, the whole thing is 360. One of the angles is 160. Another of the angles is 20. Another is 160. And another is 20. So if we add those up, 160 plus 20 is 180. 160 plus 20 is 180. 180 plus 180 equals 360. So I know that X is 160 degrees and Y is 20 degrees. Okay? All right, I want you to try one on your own based on what we know here. So if you're virtual, you're going to message me in the chat your answer for GHI, or you're going to email me your answer. If you're in a classroom, you're just going to simply write your answer on your whiteboard and show your teacher. So O is the intersection of RS and TV. We already know that this angle right here is 125 degrees. So I would personally start with H. If this is opposite, what would it be? Then you're going to look for 180 degrees. Okay? I want you to try it. It's not for a grade, just seeing what you know, what knowledge you have of angles. We know the whole thing is 360. We know opposite angles are equal or congruent. Try it out.